Feeble-minded women were believed to have unusually strong sex drives and loose morals, and as a result, it was said they would bore more children than other women. A problem known as differential fecundity. Henry Goddard, the research director of the Vinland Training School for Feeble-Minded Girls and Boys in New Jersey, a pioneer in the field, warned that everything possible must be done to not allow native morons to breed. Because of these concerns, many states, including Virginia, gave women of childbearing age priority in admission to institutions for the feeble-minded. Given the national panic at the thought of feeble-minded women reproducing, Carrie's greatest disadvantage in the Inquisition was a simple one. She was pregnant. She was in her 7th month, which would have been noticeable to the commission's doctors, who conducted a personal examination, whatever that means. Dr. J.C. Kultur, the Dobbs' family physician, who is one of the commission's 3 members, would presumably already have been aware. As an unmarried, pregnant, feeble-minded minor, Carrie embodied the worst fears of those warning against the rising tide of feeble-mindedness. The final factor working against Carrie was the nature of the proceeding itself. Even though she would be locked away for life, she had no right to a lawyer or even an adult guardian to represent her. The Dobbses knew a great deal about the legal issues from the advice of Mary Duke, the Secretary of Public Welfare, and Mr. Dobbs' experience as an officer of the peace, but Carrie had no one to help her to understand or challenge the claims being made against her, or to introduce witnesses or academic or medical records to defend herself. The Commission of Feeble-Mindedness met as scheduled on January 23, 1924. The court had deputized Miss Dobbs as special constable, and directed him to serve notice on his wife, Carrie, Carrie's parents, Frank and Emma Buck, and the 2 medical doctors on the commission. He completed most of his assignments, but he told the court that Frank and Emma Buck were not found in my county or city. Emma, who was by now living at the colony, was apparently not told about her daughter's hearing or allowed to attend. Oh, jeez. Imagine not being allowed to attend, like, an issue in a courtroom with your freaking family member. Jeez. Judge Shackelford explained to Carrie what the hearing was about. After considering the evidence, including the doctor's personal examination of Carrie, the commission formally pronounced her feeble-minded or epileptic, a noticeably vague designation. In brief written findings, the commission said nothing about how it had evaluated her mental abilities or what, if any, evidence had it identified of epilepsy. Judge Shackelford then offered Carrie to be delivered to the superintendent of the colony for epileptics and feeble-minded. Once Carrie was declared feeble-minded, the Dobbses wanted her gone quickly. She was not only a source of embarrassment and possible legal troubles for the family, but a distraction. The Dobbses' daughter was also pregnant and would end up giving birth 3 days before Carrie. Mrs. Dobbs wanted to be able to leave home, to be with her daughter without having to worry about Carrie. There were, however, delays in carrying out the court's order. Mary Duke forwarded the court papers to the colony, but they were sent back for technical deficiencies. New papers were sent, and a lawyer representing Duke wrote to the colony urging it to speed up Carrie's admission. It was long past time, the lawyer said, for the girl to be placed upon the waiting list and taken into your institution where she so badly needs to be seen as soon as possible. Oof. Caroline Wellham, a Red Cross social worker assigned to supervise Carrie's transfer, also asked the colony to move quickly. Wellham wrote her own letter to the colony's superintendent about the long-delayed commitment, explaining the urgency in more detail. Carrie was due to give birth in mid-April, Wilhelm said, and it was very important that she be admitted to the colony before that time if it could be arranged. The colony, however, would not be rushed. The superintendent, Dr. Albert Priddy, informed Wilhelm that his institution made it a rule to positively refuse admission of any expectant mothers. He told her she would have to make some provisions to keep Carrie until the child is born and disposed of. Only after Carrie had given birth and her baby was disposed of, as Dr. Priddy put it, would the colony be prepared to admit her. In the final month of her pregnancy, Carrie was in limbo. The Dobbses had secured a legal order to remove her from their home, and they were insisting she leave immediately, but her future home, the colony, would not take her in. Her own family was not available. Her father was likely dead, and her mother was locked away at the colony. Wilhelm found Carrie a temporary home not far from the Dobbses, where she would stay until she would give birth. On March 28th, earlier than expected, Carrie's baby was born, a girl who was given the name Vivian. Wilhelm did not know what to do with the Carrie's newborn. She wrote Dr. Priddy to tell him that finding a home was proving very difficult, because she and her colleagues believed a baby whose mother and grandparents are feeble-minded ought to be placed in a home for adoption. Wilhelm said that had been one offer to take Vivian in, from John and Alice Dobbs. They emphasized, however, that if the baby turned out to be feeble-minded, they would insist on institutionalizing her. Dr. Priddy did not care where the baby ended up or if she was feeble-minded. He told Wilhelm and Vivian could not come to the colony. He told Wilhelm that Vivian could not come to the colony because the law did not allow state hospitals for the feeble-minded to admit anyone under the age of 8. The only advice Dr. Priddy offered about Carrie's baby was that Wilhelm could, quote, place it in the city almshouse. In the end, she visited Vivian with the Dobbses. On June 4th, Carrie set off on the same trip her mother had taken 4 years earlier. Wilhelm escorted Carrie and the man named Walter Allen, who had been committed to the colony. The Red Cross social worker and her two charges traveled by train from Charlottesville to Lynchburg, which was then a bustling metropolis of 30,000, with an economy that was shifting from tobacco to manufacturing. After disembarking at Union Station, the three travelers took a buggy ride over the James River and arrived at the colony's front door.